LnjMonroe drama are celebrating the history of women's football. Historical facts have been mixed with imagined speech to enhance the narrative. Despite the Football Association's ban, the Kerr ladies continued to play football and raising money for charity until 1965.
When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high and down.
I told myself that beyond the door there were a load of reporters and I needed to stay calm and hold my head up high. And I were right! I were mobbed. My side at conversations went something like this. No, I don't want to make statement. No, I don't want to talk about what went on in room. Aye, I know which newspaper you're from, and that makes me want to talk to you even less. If you must take photographs, take my good side. Well, it were like walking through a storm. I tried my very best to give facts, but council didn't want to listen. I had of course arrived on time. I had checked it by my watch. Being punctual in my book is very important. One should never be late for meeting or match. One should always conduct yourself in such manner to bring credit to club both on and off field. I'd asked for a meeting with FA Council after release a statement 2 days ago. I felt driven to give our side of argument. One of the council members said, "Right, Mr. Frankland, what would you like to say to us?" I said, "Oh, I know I'd rightly like to say, but I doubt it'd help me cause." And there was a lot of coughing then, but no one said out, so I carried on. Well, for starters, there's this nonsense about football being an unsuitable game for women. Too much for the physical frame. What I say is it could be too much for a man's physical frame too. Take occasion when team were playing match at Chorley, and just before kick-off, Lily Parr was challenged by a professional male goalkeeper, and in his opinion, a woman would never be able to be a match for him. He told Lily she'd never score a goal against him, so he stood in goal. Lily placed ball on penalty spot, ran up, kicked it towards him as hard as she could. He put his hands up to try to save shot, but sheer power behind kick broke his arm. So, like I say, it could be too much for a man's physical frame too. There was silence then, so I carried on. And then there's war, I said. Someone, I think he were probably a major, replied, "Oh, I don't think we should have to mention the war." "Well, I'm going to," was my response. And we all know that government said working in munitions factory were quite unsuitable for women. But they still encouraged as many as could to work in dangerous factories. And guess what? No one stopped that happening. That provoked response from Major. "Well, we all had to do our bit," he said. "Aye, I know," I said. And women did just that. When country was short of ammunition, Kerr factory undertook manufacture of shells. Some of women in present team were making shells and kicking football round factory yard alongside men. Men were already playing as team and kept losing. Women gave them flack in canteen. Aye. "Call yourselves a football team," they'd say. "We could do better than you lot." Well, men, as you'd expect, didn't like to have their noses rubbed in it. So they challenged women to match, and they lost. So now all we need to do is to do our bit so that they can keep on playing football. Well, needless to say, that prompted a lot more rumps from council, tell you. But that didn't stop me telling them more. Just after that match with men, Kerr ladies team were formed. They played their first match to help raise funds for wounded soldiers at Moor Park hospitals. Charities have benefited ever since then. And I'm telling you that you are not going to stop that happening. The women's game will continue if organisers of charity matches will provide us with grounds to play on. Now, we have played 65 games of football this year, and almost 900,000 people have come to watch us. And in my view, this is the real reason for the ban. Well, council members didn't expect me to say that. Now, several stood up and said I should leave, only I weren't leaving. I was talking instead. In leading the way among ladies' team of the land, Kerr ladies are emulating what proud Preston North End did for football way back in the 1880s. They was invincible, and now my ladies' team are the invincibles of today. So far this season, Lily Parr has scored 43 goals. Florrie Redford, 56. Harry Chambers were leading goal scorer for Liverpool last season, and he only scored 15. Now let me tell you, gentlemen, my ladies will not stop playing despite your ban. We will find a way to play on. And I walked out of the room knowing I hadn't changed minds of council members about the ban, but that I might have made them think on a bit. And after I'd walked through mob of reporters, I turned to them and said, actually, I do have a comment to make, aye. Happen I rightly do. You've not seen end of Dick Kerr ladies. You've not seen end of ladies football neither. At the end of this storm, there'll be a golden sky, just wait. You just wait to see. And then I carried on walking back to the station. It was wet and windy, but I felt happy that I'd made my point. So I started talking out loud, to no one in particular but myself.
And you'll never walk alone. Every road through life is a long, long road, filled with joys and sorrows too. As you journey on, now your heart will yearn for the things most dear to you. That is one of Harry Lauder's best songs to my mind. We saw him at the musical this afternoon. I just love the musical. The music, the floodlit stage, the glitter of the occasion. Harry Lauder came right up to the edge of the stage. It was like he knew each and every one of us. I wanted to be a music hall star when I was younger. My dear wife Kate tells me even now that I have the voice for it. I used to sing as a child, family gatherings and such like. My parents were always encouraging me to sing. I had 4 siblings and we all had our party pieces. We all played football too, usually out in the fields with our cousins. There were 7 of them all told, so we had our own team. When I went to work at Lillishall Ironworks, I played football with the lads in the factory yard. I was picked up by a scout from Wellington Town, and that was the start of my playing career, and the end to any hopes I had of being in the musical. Hey, perhaps I could combine the two. Stand on the centre spot at St Andrews just for kick-off and sing. With wealth and love 'tis so, but onward we must go. Keep right on to the end of the road. Keep right on to the end. Anyway, when we got back home, who do you think walked in? Alfred Frankland. Honestly, he did. Took me by surprise, to tell the truth. I was just serving a glass of stout to one of the locals when a voice said, "Harry Hampton, good to see you." He told me that he was visiting Birmingham, knew I had a hotel and thought he would stop in. I've known Alfred for several years, ever since the start of the Great War when I was stationed in Lancashire. I have to say he was very cheerful despite the news. He said it was not going to deter him. I told Alfred I was very pleased that he and his lady footballs were not going to give up. I know that the Football Association make the rules, and it is not often that I find myself in disagreement with their members, but, quite honestly, I really do not see eye to eye with them in their attempt to suppress ladies' football in this way. It is true that, as a nation, we English are steeped in conventions. We don't like change. But these are different times. The Great War had some influence on this. Women played a big part, especially those employed in the factories, and now some women, including my Kate, have been given the vote. I poured Alfred a pint, and he made himself comfortable at the bar. I told him he had my support in whatever way I could give it. He told me that one of the things he objected to mostly was the Football Association saying that the game was unbecoming to a lady and too rough. That made me smile, just as it had when I read it in the newspaper. I told him about my lady cousin who plays hockey. I said, believe me, the way she runs around the pitch yielding a big stick, I reckon that is much more dangerous than football. That made Alfred smile too. What I don't understand, I told Alfred, is that no one stopped women playing football during the war. In fact, it was encouraged as a form of recreation. My Kate's sister was a munitionette. She played not only against other departments in a factory, but played against other factory teams too. Where were these doctors then, who now say football is too dangerous for women? Are they the same ones who had to treat them for TNT poisoning? Alfred said his ladies are certainly much more independent than they used to be. Whether that's to do with the war or football, he isn't quite sure. Then he tells me that they are all set for a trip to the United States and Canada. Would you credit it? Mind, that'll mean crossing the Atlantic by ship. That wouldn't do me. I was seasick just after we left Dover on our way to France in 1917. Alfred said that the Atlantic crossing will be interesting, because when they went to play France last year, the Channel crossing was so rough, all but 5 of the team avoided seasick. I told him I remembered seeing the newspaper headlines after the Paris match, that photo of Kerr being kissed by the French captain at the start of the match. Alfred said, but that's what the French do, don't they? Kiss each other instead of shaking hands. I smiled and said I expected that ruffled a few feathers within the Football Association. He said it probably did that, and the amount of people that watched the game. Alfred thinks that it is one of the things that trouble the Football Association, the amount of support women's football gets. He said the biggest crowd his team ever had was on Boxing Day last year, when they played at Goodison Park. He reckons 53,000 people saw the match. 53,000! Can you believe that? Alfred said there were so many people that the ladies had to get a police escort to get them safely to the changing room. Well, I never. I told Alfred that we had played on Christmas Day and only 23,000 turned up, and I didn't need a police escort to the changing rooms. Come to think of it, I have never needed a police escort to anywhere. I expressed to Alfred that he had my backing, for which he thanked me. The thing is, I told him that the regard for Dick Kerr's ladies is at a peak right now. They are, to be truthful, well loved. Still, he says that the Football Association are resolute. He understands that they also proclaim that their members are forbidden from acting as referee or linesman at women's games. Alfred spoke about one of their matches played just a few weeks after the ban. According to Alfred, Kerr, his team captain, sent invitations to members of the Football Association to watch the match, but they didn't turn up. I said I expect they didn't want to have to say they were wrong. Alfred stated that more than £3,000 was raised for charity that day. He said that exceeded even his expectations. I said I'd seen the Pathé newsreel with Ella Retford, the musical star, kissing both rival captains before the kick-off. We both laughed, and I said perhaps it was a good job that no one from the Football Association turned up. Ella Retford sang some great songs during the war. So did Harry Lauder, of course. He went to France too, not to play football, but to sing for the troops. Alfred finished his pint and bid me goodbye. He said he had to be back for the match the next day and needed to catch the last train. After he left, I got to thinking how fitting Harry Lauder's song is for Alfred and the Dick Kerr ladies. Though the way be long, let your heart be strong, keep right on round the bend. Though you're tired and weary, still journey on, till you come to your happy abode, where all you love you've been dreaming of will be there